Chapter 22. The Perfect Nugget. Doug Weapon jammed the gear shift into park, shutting off the engine with a flick of his wrist. The salt truck had been returned, his workday was over, and now, he could finally dive back into the real work. His heart thrummed with anticipation as he stepped out into the cold, wind-bitten evening, March still refusing to release its grip on the city. His boots crunched over patches of lingering ice in the parking lot of Manny's diner, the grease-slicked neon sign flickering in protest against the wind. He hadn't planned on takeout. Hell, he really should make an effort to hit a grocery store before his fridge turned into an icebox of shame. But his mind was already miles away, caught in the tangled threads of ancient secrets, anomalies, and a single perfect search term that had hit him like a lightning bolt during his last few rounds of the city. The dwelling gods. Doug had been replaying the name in his head all day, letting it roll around in his brain like a loose marble. It sounded important, old, something he had read before, maybe in some half-forgotten text buried in Miranda's shop. And that was exactly what he needed, a golden nugget of insight that he could casually drop on her tomorrow night, like some kind of intellectual grand slam. A damn good reason not to bail. He stepped inside Manny's, the heady aroma of fried food and old coffee wrapping around him like a well-worn blanket. The place was mostly empty, save for a couple of regulars hunched over their meals, forks clinking against chipped plates. Manny himself, a barrel-chested man with forearms like tree trunks, glanced up from the grill, giving Doug a knowing smirk. "Let me guess. The usual?" Doug sighed. "Yeah, Manny. The usual. Really needed to work on that diet." While Manny threw together his double cheeseburger and loaded fries, Doug leaned against the counter, absently scrolling his phone. His search history was a wild ride, from antiquated forums on Hermetic texts to obscure Reddit threads about Atlantean ruins. But nothing felt quite as right as this new lead. The dwelling gods. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was it, that somewhere, buried beneath layers of forgotten history, mistranslations, and outright fabrications, this term was the thread that tied everything together. His pulse quickened just thinking about it. Tomorrow night, he'd sit across from Miranda, let her go on one of her skeptical, razor-sharp dissections of his latest find. And then, when the moment was right, he'd drop it. Watch her eyes flicker with that split second of intrigue before she covered it up with her usual academic detachment. He grinned to himself. Yeah, she was gonna love this one. Manny slid the grease-stained bag across the counter. "Here you go, big guy. And, maybe grab an apple sometime, yeah?" Doug snorted, grabbing the bag and tossing a few bills onto the counter. "I'll work on that." The cold bit at his face as he stepped back outside, but he barely noticed. He had a date with history,